Hi, my name is Matthew Rhoads, and today I want to talk to you about creativity. And to start, I want you to know something, and that is that you are a creative person. The population, half of the population thinks that they are not a creative person because they maybe don't sing, or maybe they don't play piano or an instrument, or they don't write music, or they don't know how to work a camera, or they don't know how to create a graphic, or all these different things that we define in our society as creative. But today, I want you to know that you are a creative person. And since you know that, I want to take you on this journey that I've kind of personally went on in my life, and of how I've realized what creativity is and how creativity applies to our lives, and how that we are all creative people. And so, knowing that you are a creative person, I want to go a little more in depth. But first off, I just want to get that clear. You are a creative person. We are all creative people. And after you get that down, and after you kind of realize that, and open up to that, maybe I am a creative person. Maybe I do have creative qualities in my life. Maybe I just don't see it the right way, or maybe I just don't quite understand what creativity is. And so that may be the case in your life. It may not be. But I know personally in my life, I've dealt with that, thinking that I wasn't a creative person, maybe because I couldn't do or didn't have these certain skills that people had. But I really felt like I was meant to be creative. I was meant to do creative things, but I just didn't necessarily have the skills that fit in the box of creativity. But I had to learn that I am a creative person. That maybe I just express it in different ways. And so with this, first thing you need to know about creativity is that creativity is a process. Creativity, there are many different levels or many different phases in your life where your creativity is expressed in a new or a different way than it may have been before. Creativity is always changing in your life. There are constantly things that you are doing that are creative. There's every day, every decision you make, everything you do is in some way, some form or fashion creative. In our minds, we don't think about it this way. We don't think that creativity is something that is part of our lives on a constant. But we think that it's something that only certain people do or certain people have. Only certain people are creative is the way we think. And the reality is that we are all creative. And with this, we need to know that since we are creative, we're on this process of becoming more creative. We're on this process of learning different ways to be creative, different ways that creativity and creating things is a part of our lives. And so, first off, know that you are creative. Second off, and know that creativity is a process. It's constantly changing. It's constantly progressing in your life. You're constantly learning and being more creative in different and new ways. You're not only being creative in the way you think or the way maybe the world defines creativity, but you're being creative in many different ways, and you're always progressing and becoming more creative and doing different things that are creative. It's always changing, and it's always a part of your life, but it's always moving forward, and it's always a process. And so in my life, this understanding came through a blog. I was reading a blog one day. I don't remember who the author is. I don't even remember where I found it. I think I was just searching on the internet for something random. I think I searched the word creativity, and I found some blog after clicking on a bunch of links. And I came to this blog and I began to read, and it was a really long blog. And like most people, when you read a blog that's really, really long, you don't read the whole thing, right? You just read parts of it. And so I began to read the beginning, and I liked the blog. I thought it was good, but being a guy, I wanted to skip to the bottom, and so I skipped down, and I wanted to see what the main point is, right? You just read the back of the book, you don't read the whole book, right? That's what most of us do, right? But the reality is that when I began to read this blog, and I came to the conclusion of the blog, this person who wrote it, he said that creativity can be defined and expressed in so many different ways that I could literally write for creativity for many, many pages, many, many words about describing different ways that creativity applies to our life and trying to define this word creativity. And he came to this conclusion at the end of this blog, and he said, but the best conclusion that I've come to and best understanding that I've gained about creativity is that creativity is simply asking and answering questions. And so once I heard this took me on this journey in life of understanding, a new understanding of creativity, that creativity is simply asking and answering questions. And knowing that we are meant to be creative people, knowing that we are all creative in some form or fashion, but not really understanding that completely. But once I read this blog and I got this conclusion that creativity can be defined as simply asking and answering questions, it gave me a new understanding about what creativity is and how it applies to my life. And so today, first thing we learned is that creativity, we are all creative. First thing we learn about creativity is, first, we are all creative, and two, that creativity is a process, and three, that creativity can be simply defined as asking and answering questions. And so today, with this understanding, what I want to relay to you, the message is that you can make a change, you can make a difference in your world by being creative. And what do I mean by that? Creativity is simply asking and answering questions, right? That's what I just said. That's what I came to the conclusion about after I read this blog, after I went on this long journey of trying to figure out what creativity was. I knew I was supposed to be creative, but I didn't understand or know how to define creativity in the right way. I thought it had to fit in some sort of box, some sort of creative thing that I had to do in order to be creative or to create something. But after reading this and going on this process and coming to the realization that creativity is simply asking and answering questions, I began to think, I'm supposed to be a creative person. And so how can asking and answering questions make me, how can that help me? How can that be me being creative, me needing to be creative with the understanding of asking and answering questions? How does that apply? And so I came to this realization that in our lives, there are constantly there's constantly questions that surround us. There are constantly all these different things that come at us, all these different problems that need a solution. And knowing that creativity is simply asking and answering questions, we can be creative by solving problems in our lives and in other people's lives. And so today, with this understanding, I want to ask you, what are some problems that you see in your life? What are some problems that maybe you see in the world? What are some problems that you see maybe in your neighbor, or your friend, or your brother, or your sister, or somebody that you're around a lot, your coworker maybe? What are some problems that they have that you see that you may know a solution to? You know, creativity is simply asking and answering questions. And so in our life, if we are meant to be creative, and you are a creative person, I'm a creative person, we are all creative, how can you, being creative, make this world a better place? How can you, being creative, make your coworker or your neighbor or your friend have a better life? How can you encourage them in some way? How can you make their life better? How can you make this world a better place? Simply being creative. You can look for questions that you have answers to. You can look for answers to questions that people have. And so in your life, challenge you. Where can you be more creative? Where are there some problems that you can help find a solution to? Where are there areas in your personal life that you maybe need to be more creative? Maybe there's some problems, maybe there's some things that you're trying to figure out, you're just trying to really fight through, you're just trying to really push through, and maybe that's not the solution. Maybe you need to ask yourself a question: am I doing this the right way? Am I going about this the right way? Am I getting the results I want? Am I getting the wrong result because I'm trying to force through? Or do I need to do this a different way so I can get the result I want? And that is being creative. You're asking a question and you're trying to find a solution. You're trying to find an answer. And that is how you can be creative. That's how I can be creative. And that's how, if we do this together, we can make this world a better place. Because we can find solutions to problems. We can answer questions that are tough simply by trying to figure out what's the problem, what's the question that we're trying to answer. And once we've come to the conclusion on what the question is, we can find an answer and a solution for that problem, and we can be creative in that process, because that's what creativity is, simply asking and answering questions. And so today, I hope that helped you. I know it's helped me in my life, and I want to challenge you. Be more creative in your life. Look for problems that you can solve. Look for questions that you can answer, and answer them in a creative way, and make a better world, make a better place to live, make a better life for you and the people around you. Thank you.